Hey, what's going on, everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers, and hopefully you guys are excited. This is going to be part 2 of the Poulan Pro uh, Left for Dead chainsaw. This thing was sitting at least probably a year out in the weather, and trying to get this thing revived. It was pretty gross, and got it to pop off, and waiting on the carb to come in today. So go ahead and get everything disassembled and get it ready, and we'll get that carb swapped on here and see if this thing will start up. Appreciate you guys that have been along for the ride, and anybody that's new here, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys do like this kind of content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe below with the drop down bell. That way you guys know each time I upload a video. And yeah, hopefully you guys are ready. See if we can get this thing running. All right. Well, waiting on this carburetor to come in today, and then we will get going on that as soon as that comes in. But start out the video, I was just going to show you guys. I went through after filming the first part the other day and got everything cleaned up fairly well on this. I mean, this thing was just absolutely disgusting. I don't know if you guys remember what the bar side looked like in here, but I got all that cleaned up and blown out, and actually went ahead and ran a little brush over the fins on here to kind of clean those up so they don't look quite as bad as they did. And overall, it cleaned up pretty nice. I think this will be a fairly good little homeowner saw. Cleaned up the bar on it and blew out the chain guide and the oiling ports. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. In the meantime, I'm just gonna go ahead and start taking the carb off on this. I did notice when we had initially pulled the top cover off and I pulled the air filter cover off that this screw was missing, and don't really think that's a big deal on here. It's mainly just the two support bolts that mount up the plate in the carburetor. So we'll go ahead and just start getting this disassembled, get everything prepped for the carburetor, and we'll go from there. So I'll get you guys on the tripod and we'll start taking this apart. Looks like we just have these two 8mm nuts to take off. Really hoping I ordered the right carburetor for this. There was didn't really find a whole lot on the actual what this model was. It says it's the PP4218 AVX. Most of the ones that were on Amazon were just the PP4218A, but I believe these are all basically about the same. They all looked the same. So alright, well, this is probably the third time I've tried to film this, and I'll take you guys over to the bench over here so we can see a little bit better. For some reason it keeps saying corrupt file, and I'm trying a new battery. Alright, so we just had the two 8mm nuts that were on the stud for the carburetor, and the throttle cable just has the little Z-bend in the end to get out, and then this should come off. We should be able to pull this off to the side. We can go ahead and take our choke out of here. Let me set you guys up on the tripod. All right. So just the choke arm comes out, and then should just be able to slide the carb off. And I'm trying to be careful with this boot because it did look pretty dry rotted. So I'm gonna take that, and then we're gonna have these fuel lines that are connected to the primer bulb, and then there's a separate one that that goes to the return. Actually, no. It's supposed to be one pulling from the tank on the primer bulb. Is that right? I have to look at the diagram, but this doesn't, the way these lines are set up on here doesn't look right. Let me see. We'll just pop these lines off and then we'll see what's going on. Because they've got one that's pulling from the tank into the primer bulb and then into the carburetor. And then there's that other line that was broken off before. Guys think there's some crud in that. Well, that little, I guess, choke boot looks pretty good on the inside, so see if we can get that off without damaging from the carburetor, because I don't think the other kit comes with that. Yeah, so here is what it's showing me. You can see on the one side is the line with the fuel filter, and then it comes back out, goes to the primer bulb, and then back into the tank. So that should be the throttle side has that nipple, which should come out of the tank, and then that goes right into the throttle side. And then here on the choke side of it, there's the other nipple, and that one is supposed to be coming out of there to the larger nipple on the primer bulb, and then there's supposed to be a smaller line on that, and that goes into, if you guys can see, the return side. So they had this routed incorrectly, so that's probably why this saw was left. Someone tried to repair it, install the lines incorrectly, as far as I can tell. We'll check everything over when we get the new carb kit in, so hopefully that'll be in shortly. Only other thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take off this screw here, and I'm gonna clean up that this little bar here, which is your kill wire. I'm just gonna run some sandpaper over the contacts. That way we make sure we got good contacts on that. And then on the primer bulb, I'll go ahead and take that out, but it should just be a couple of small tabs, and then we can have that out too. So yeah, there's like two little ears. You just got to kind of push in on that, I believe, to get the primer bulb to come out. Yep. So you just have these two little tabs. You just got to kind of walk it out of there. All right, well, carb kit just came in. Just kind of looking over some of the stuff in here, and there is a small difference in this carburetor and this carburetor. This one has this armature here, but I was kind of looking at it, and I think that it's going to work fine. Take a look when we start getting everything mounted up. But it came with the two gaskets, the smaller diameter line that should be the return line back into the tank, a couple of filters, came with two of the larger diameter hoses, which are going to be one coming out of the tank and one coming from the carburetor to the primer bulb, and two more of those snap-in primer bulbs, and a little tool. So I think what I'm going to do to start out, I'm not really sure if these lines are even long enough, but I have some of the larger diameter line on hand. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you guys, is I am going to take this line, I'm going to clip it, cut an angle into the tip of it, and I will start to feed that down into the tank itself. And then once I can get it kind of started in there, I'll take these needle nose pliers and get down in there and pull the line through, and then we will connect up the fuel filter to that, and then we'll just kind of leave the line long for now until we can get the carburetor close to in place, and then we'll trim that to fit. So let me start with that, and then we'll start working on the other lines and get it all fitted up. So let me see, show you guys. I'm gonna cut a relatively steep angle on it. I might need more than that. And let's see here. I'm probably gonna have to move some of this stuff out the way. I kind of got a mess here. So this is usually the hard part, is trying to get these lines fed through, because there's not a lot of room here. And I can't really get my hand down in there anyways. But if we can just get it started. I think I'm gonna have to cut more off from this. See, this is why you kind of need a longer line to begin with, because a lot of times you're gonna have to trim this to get it to squeeze through. I should have some better cutters on hand, but I don't at the moment. I don't feel like going over to the other shop to get them. If I can at least get it to kind of peek through there, I should be able to get a hold of it with the needle noses. I gotta turn this so I can see it. See if I can get it with these. I'll probably just turn this off for a minute while I'm fighting this thing, but you guys get the idea. Alright, well, took a couple minutes of fighting with it. I ended up cutting back the a little bit more so I could get a longer area to grab, and then we'll go ahead and cut this off clean. Install the fuel filter. Alright. Then you can pull back some of that line, because you just want it to where your weighted filter is just going to be able to kind of cruise along the bottom of the tank and pick up. I think I might have went a hair too far. Alright, there we go. That way it's able to kind of swing along the bottom of the tank and pick up. Of course my hands are filthy, so I'm already getting the fuel filter dirty. Alright. Got that. I'm gonna leave that line hanging for now, and we'll trim that to fit. So I guess the next thing we need to do is feed through that smaller diameter line, which will be the return. Hopefully this one will go in a little easier. So I'll probably skip this, but as far as fishing it through, because you guys get the idea. but that one is just going to go through. It actually has a smaller little inlet going back into the tank, so I'm going to feed this through, and then we'll start getting our carburetor in place. Alright, I got that one fed through, and then same thing, we're just going to clip the end off, and on this one you can pull it back in, and it doesn't need to be touching the bottom of the tank. I'll probably just put it about halfway from the where it goes through the body into the tank, and we will leave this one for now. And let's see where we're at here. So no, it looks like a big spaghetti mess here. All right, let's go ahead and put the gasket on. Came with 2, so that one should be for the front side. And then we've got the other one here, which should be for the back side. Just line up. So, oh, and I do need to take that that intake boot off from here, or choke boot, whatever it is. Alright, so we'll put that on the new one. And then we'll go ahead and start feeding the carburetor onto here. Just go ahead and put the gasket on now. And I thought that maybe these studs were like unthreaded, or they weren't tight, but they must have a little locking tab there in the back, so when you draw down the nuts, it'll pull them up and cinch everything together. So we've got let's see. I'm thinking I might cut it a little bit longer than it needs to be, but I'm going to cut about here. And that's going to be for the where it comes out of the tank, the one that's connected to the fuel filter. I guess I can just go ahead and do that here. So now we've got our supply line hooked up. Can push this down, get that in place. All right. Now, I'm going to be working on our primer bulb setup here. And I did look earlier. It doesn't say it on the ones that just came in from the kit, but the one that was on here originally, in very small letters at the top of the tab here, it says in. So this is going to be your inlet. So this, on this particular one, the shorter side should be your inlet coming from the carburetor into here, and then the longer one is the one that goes on the bottom, and that connects to the smaller diameter line that goes into the tank. So I think we can go ahead and install our, I'm gonna leave a little extra here for now. So we'll take our longer one here, and that's going to feed onto that. be fighting here with this thing. It's going on there, but slowly. And then we have the other clear line, and that one is going to go right onto the side of the carburetor. Hope I'm still recording here. Yep. It's a little chillier side today, so these lines are a little stiff, but I don't know how great a quality these fuel lines are to begin with. Alright, so there's that. I know this is taking a while. This is why most people don't want to mess with these. They know it's a pain getting in here with all these fuel lines. Alright, so I think we got everything in place. I'm gonna turn you guys off. I'm gonna get a little fuel and I'm gonna put it in here, and while everything's still kind of loose here, we're gonna test it and make sure that we're pulling from the tank to the primer and returning. There we go. You guys can see it filling up the, let me bring it down a little closer here. So the bulb filled up. I could see the gas pulling through here and back into the return side. So we are pumping now. Let's see if I can get that line to go on there just a little bit more. Now that we've gotten some fuel into it. Alright, so that should be good to go back in now. Got you guys back up here. Let's see. Okay, so primer bulb's installed. We should have all of our fuel lines in place. Now we've just got to hook up the, yeah, this armature looks like it's going to clear everything, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. Let's get the choke lever back on. Okay, that kind of rested there. And I believe it was the upper. I guess I need to put that gasket on as well. Alright, that's in place. And then I gotta just wrangle this throttle cable into place. There we go. Gasket's trying to slip away on me. I think. What am I hitting here? I think that's it there. Okay. Alright, let's cinch up wherever those two bolts are that I had. Just trying to get these snugged up. Those were 8 mils. Don't need to be cranked down crazy. Just snug them up. There's 2 gaskets on there. Alright. Alright. Throttle seems like it's working fine. Choke. Okay. Fuel lines are still on. All right. I think we are good. I'm gonna go ahead and I did actually earlier. I can't really show you guys. I think I said that I went through and I had just kind of filed down or sanded down that, knocked off that rust that was on the kill switch for it. So that should be good. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll shut the camera off. I'm gonna get the filter and all that stuff fitted on here and throw the covers on it, and let's see if we can't get this thing to fire up. I'll open it up just a little bit more. All right, make sure you guys are still recording. I'm sweating out here. It's starting to warm up. We got some odd weather today. It went from like 30 this morning to almost 70 now. So anyhow, you guys saw I was having trouble starting it, and it wasn't necessarily a priming issue. Everything was going the way it should. These settings were not correct from the factory on the low side and the high side. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I probably opened up the low side about 3/4 of a turn, maybe 1 turn, and I probably opened up the high side about a 1/2 turn. But I got it at least started, and you guys heard it pretty much start to get where it needed to be, just to idle and a quick good throttle response. But as soon as I gave it anything above probably half throttle, where you're getting into the high side, it was bogging down. So I don't know if you guys saw, but then I started to open up the high side, and you guys heard it. RPM start climbing. All right, guys. Well, here's one more little glimpse at this. It's not perfect, but did clean up pretty nice. Just put a fresh hand filed edge on the chain here, so pretty sharp. It was looked like somebody had been chewing rocks with this thing, so took a little while on that. Still had some bar oil in it. Probably got about a 1/2 tank of gas. Overall, should be a pretty good little homeowner saw, as long as the next person takes care of it. Got a small little limb over here. I didn't have a whole lot of wood to cut, but I will go ahead and get the tripod, and we'll get this cranked up, show you guys cutting some wood, and we'll wrap it up. Wish I had some decent sized little trees to cut here at the moment, but I don't. So we'll just do a little limbing with this and cut this up, but you guys will get the idea. As long as it runs and cuts, that's what we want. Been a few hours since I started it, so let's see. Well, I think that's gonna do it, guys. Pretty excited about that. Got a good little running saw here, and seems like it has a pretty good amount of power. Maybe in a future video, if I can find some decent wood, I'll show you guys cutting with this thing. We can actually get into something with some size. So I appreciate you guys watching, and all the people that have been along for the ride. I really appreciate the support. Anybody that's new here, if you guys do like this kind of content, make sure you guys hit the like and the subscribe below with the bell notification. That way you guys know anytime I upload a new video. And once again, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good week. See you in the next video.